The biggest mysteries of our world aren't those facing modern discoveries, but that of ancient discoveries. It appears that the more we learn about the ancient civilizations of Egypt, we find more and more evidence of impossible to explain artifacts that seem to stump even the top Egyptologists from around the world. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we will be going over 5 ancient artifacts in Egypt that Egyptologists do not understand. The mystery of the Sphinx. Originally a theory posited by the groundbreaking author Robert Temple, there appears to be overwhelming evidence that the Sphinx we know today was actually an attempt made by a pharaoh of the 4th dynasty to do nothing more than to claim the works of those before him. Evidence for this can be found when analysing the head-to-body ratio of the large statue. The head on the Sphinx is so small that many had often believed, upon first sight, that it could have been grinded down from a much more massive structure. The second piece of evidence is provided by the hieroglyphics located at the temple of Tep-Tufa that outline in great detail that the original god of ancient Giza was Anubis, as well as including the accounts and images of Anubis in his jackal form drawn all throughout the site in the same pose as of the body of the Sphinx, with no mention of a lion of any kind at the ancient city. Interestingly enough, this exact same pose was discovered in one of the only tombs of an Egyptian pharaoh ever discovered that had been completely undisturbed since his burial, the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun. Within King Tut's tomb is a shrine to Anubis that demonstrates an exact scale of the Sphinx statue, but with the head of a jackal to represent Anubis, showing in overwhelming evidence that the original statue at the ancient city of Giza was supposed to be that of a jackal-headed Anubis and not that of a lion's body with a human head. So, where do we get the idea of a human's head and a lion's body? The truth is, the only reason why the statue is referred to as a sphinx is because of old Greek mythologies, such as those of Oedipus, that talk about a lion with the head of a man called a sphinx, but no such symbol exists in that of ancient Egypt. This means that the hieroglyphic texts that describe the Sphinx with a human head to represent the pharaoh of the 4th dynasty were nothing more than forgeries by the then pharaoh to take credit for a great statue of which he had not created nor designed. Why this is remains a mystery to this day. The Saqqara Bird. It was very common in the old days of Egypt for children to possess intricately carved wooden toys not too much different to toys found today. Interestingly enough, the discovery of the Saqqara artifact puts many ideas into question on whether or not the object was a toy or evidence of ancient aircraft during 2000 BCE. In an 1898 excavation at the Pad-di Ayman tomb, located in the town of Saqqara, Egypt, was discovered strange bird-shaped artifacts made out of sycamore wood and incredibly preserved. These artifacts depict a bird at the front of its design. However, the rest of the body seems similar in design to a modern-day charter plane rather than a bird. Located atop the bird appears to be one single large wing commonly seen in modern tail-dragger planes, whereas the back shows what appears to be a similar design to a rudder that flattens out at the back in a vertical position. Further evidence of the ancient Egyptian gods wielding advanced technologies is the fact that the bird face used for the Saqqara bird is that of a falcon, an image commonly used to depict many of the Egyptian gods and their power. Further evidence was established when aerodynamics expert Simon Sanderson tested an exact replica model of the carved bird in a modern wind tunnel. Even without a tailplane, rudder, or flaps, the model generated 4 times the glider's own weight in lift, proving indefinitely that even without the use of modern-day equipment, scaled up, the carved image could glide on its own. When Simon Sanderson added a stabilizing tailplane to the carved wooden figure and tested it in a flight simulator, it was able to fly quite well and control with ease that rivals in comparison to many aircraft built today. In his paper, Simon wrote that, quote, "Modern technology has proved beyond all doubt that it could have flown," end quote. Despite this substantial evidence and research, many experts claim Simon Sanderson as forging results or even going as far as claiming that perhaps the wooden bird is nothing more than an elaborate hoax placed there during its discovery. A new queen of the 5th dynasty. One of the most puzzling questions for Egyptologists has been trying to get an accurate timeline of the reign of the pharaohs and dynasties of ancient Egypt to better understand the developments and policy changes at what specific times in history they played out. Though there are many missing pieces to the puzzle of Egypt all throughout history, there was none more so puzzling than the ruler of Egypt following the demise of Pharaoh Neferefre. The Pharaoh Neferefre was the fourth pharaoh of the 5th dynasty, taking leadership shortly after the passing of his father, and spent his first few years finishing his father's pyramid, laying the foundations for his own as well as working on a project known as Hotep-Re, of which was a sun temple that would have been the location of offerings to the god Ra. Unfortunately for the pharaoh, he would pass away under mysterious circumstances after only a few years of ruling and would die in his early 20s. This meant that for quite a long period of time, there was no male successor to Egypt, and Egyptologists were uncertain as to who exactly remained in power during this time. Recently, however, new evidence has surfaced that leads many researchers to believe that a secret queen of Egypt had ruled during this time in place of a male successor. Back in 2015, Egyptologists unearthed an unfinished pyramid that was located nearby the tomb of Pharaoh Neferefre, leading researchers to believe that the tomb was that of his queen. Additionally, the walls of the tomb are inscribed with hieroglyphics that claim the woman who inhabits the tomb was both the wife and mother of the pharaoh. Given the fact that ancient Egyptians were obsessed with covering up any female rulers of history, as was seen with Hatshepsut, another female queen, this has led many to connect the puzzle that this new tomb might be that of a missing queen and 5th ruler of the 5th dynasty. The Lost Labyrinth of Egypt. All throughout the written works of ancient scribes that attempted to record the natural history of the world around them, they wrote in extensive detail about a supposedly massive Egyptian construction known as the Labyrinth of Egypt. According to Herodotus, a natural Greek historian that had visited a number of important locations around the known world during his time, he wrote, "This I have actually seen, a work beyond words. For if anyone put together the buildings of the Greeks and display of their labours, they would seem lesser in both effort and expense to this labyrinth. Even the pyramids are beyond words, and each was equal to many and mighty works of the Greeks, yet the labyrinth surpasses even the pyramids." Despite these incredible words, there seems to be no real way to locate this mighty labyrinth that appears to be lost to history. Researchers have theorized that if the labyrinth has not been destroyed, it most likely rests beneath the sands of Egypt and may be impossible to find for several centuries. The Dendera Bulb. Another strange artifact of the Egyptian civilization is that of the symbolic carved hieroglyphic images located in the mysterious Hathor temple at Dendera in Egypt. The strange images and symbols depict what appears to be an in-depth blueprint for modern-day electric lighting devices. The image included a glass tube with filament inside that appears to connect to a series of connectors commonly seen in modern-day bulbs, an invention supposedly not discovered until 1879. Interestingly enough, the symbolic image also depicts a long running wire from the back end of the Dendera bulb, while humans raise their hands in worship to giants surrounding them. Given the vast and extensive amount of evidence we have gathered in the past of a possible race of giants of whom were capable of using advanced technologies to have assisted with the creation of the pyramids at Giza, and have been depicted in many other ancient Egyptian carvings, this could also be overwhelming evidence of the gifts of technologies and advancements provided. Interestingly enough, the temple depicting these devices also seems to have no conventional means of lighting. The hallways are so long and narrow that using mirrors to shed light into the rooms is not possible, and the use of torches were not existent due to the fact that no residue of ash has been found on the ceilings of the old temple, which is a common way to discern lighting practices in every other building in the area. This could be proof that not only were traditional methods of lighting not used, but that perhaps an alternative source of lighting was provided in the region. Many Egyptologists argue that the depiction is nothing more than a collection of symbols drawn in a way to appear nearly identical to modern-day light bulbs. However, given the fact that these symbols have never been seen outside of this one depiction, this theory appears to be quite a stretch for the overwhelming evidence provided in the ancient alien community. But what do you all think of these strange ancient artifacts that Egyptologists have been having a hard time trying to understand? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comment section below and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.